guys, it's Cheese Games, and welcome to the first episode of our simple Unity game tutorial. So first thing we're gonna do is create a new Unity project. I'm gonna name it Apple Catch Game, and I'm just gonna put the tutorial here, but you can name it whatever you want. And secondly, we're gonna go here and switch it from 3D to 2D because that's the type of game we're going to be making, and create project. Okay, so here we have our new project. So the first thing we want to do is create our player controller that's going to be running and jumping around trying to catch the apples falling from the sky. So we're going to create a new empty, reset the transform, and label it player, and set the tag to player as well. Now the scripts we're going to be using, we're not going to write ourselves, we're just going to find it on the internet in a video. I'll put the link in the description, and that will provide the scripts, but we're going to need to label them first. So in the new C# script, we're going to create a script called player, another one called controller 2D, and finally one called raycast controller. Okay, so I'll send you this link in the description, which you can click on now, and in this video's description it's going to say download source code here, so we're going to click on that link. And alright, and we're going to 2D platformer tutorial, latest episode, which is episode 11 currently. And first of all, we're going to go to the raycast controller and copy this, Control C, open it in our script, Control V, and we're going to do the same thing with all our other scripts. So controller 2D, we're going to open that in this website, and finally player, copy all of that, Control C, open up player, and Control V, and now you can just save all here, and all we have to do is go into the player, add the player script, and it automatically adds everything else that you need. So yeah, we need a box collider and a controller 2D and the player and the player. So the collider controller 2D is asking for a collision mask, which we have not set yet. So we're going to need to create an empty reset transform. We're going to call this ground, and we're just going to drag this down, and we're going to give this a layer called obstacle, and set that layer to this object. And now collision mask going to be set to obstacle. So yeah, but you can't currently see the player in the ground, so all we're going to do is right click on the player, 3D object, cube, and do the exact same thing for ground. We want to make the ground a bit bigger, so set that to about 8. Okay, there we go. And I also want to give it a box collider 2D. Alright, so now with the left and right arrow, or A and D and space, we can move our little player. Alright, so that's the first step done. Now I'm going to move this ground so it's barely visible. I'm going to set the Y to 2 and make the X like 20. Okay. now it's time to spawn the apples. So we're going to create a new game object. We're going to call this apple spawner. And we're going to give it a new script, call it apple spawner, no space. We're going to put this up here actually. And so what this script is going to be doing is it's going to have a timer, and once the timer reaches the point, it's going to spawn apple, and then it's going to go back to 0. So it's just going to keep looping that until, well, infinitely. So we're going to make a public float called the spawn rate, and we want to spawn this around 1 apple every 1 second. We also want to create a game object, call this the apple, and under the spawn rate we're just going to create a private float spawn timer equal to 0. Okay, so in update we're going to say spawn timer plus equals time dot delta time. This is just making it a timer, and so we need to put if statements here. So if the spawn timer is greater or equal to the spawn rate, we want to instantiate a apple at the transform.position. Okay, for now we'll just do transform.position, but we're going to change that later. And quaternion.identity, which is just the default rotation. Identity. Okay, and lastly, spawn timer is equal to 0. So we need to create an apple game object, create empty, reset transform, label this apple, and give it a rigid body. I guess a box collider 2, box collider 2D. Oh no, sorry, a rigid body 2D. Rigid body 2D and a box collider 2D. Alright. Now we're going to create a prefab and destroy the one in the game world and put that there. So now the apple should be falling from, oh, the apple's invisible. Do what we did before, just create a cube under that, and we're going to make the apple a bit smaller, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, apply, delete, okay. And there now you have an apple that's falling from the sky. Only problem is it's only falling in one direction. So we need to randomly place the apples. And by doing this, we're going to change where it's going to instantiate itself. So we're going to create a vector3 spawn pos is equal to a new vector3, and it's only going to be random in the x-axis. So random.range minus 6 and 6. Now for the y, we're just going to have it transform.position.y, and for the z, it's going to be 0. And now we're in instantiate, we're going to replace transform.position to spawn pos. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just so this is not like this variable is going to keep changing every time you're creating a new apple. So let's do this. See what happens. There we go, spawning in random position in this range of minus 6 and 6. Alright, so that's all we're going to be doing for this episode. I just want to create a directional light, make everything a bit more bright. And yeah, so in the next episode, we're going to give these apples triggers, so when you bump into them, they actually disappear, and we're also going to have a score. So that's the next episode. Thank you guys for watching this first episode, and see you next episode. Bye.